You opened your savings account this morning and saw that number, the one you've been protecting, the emergency fund you're so proud of, and for just a second you felt safe, then you closed the app and went back to being afraid of everything else. You're sitting on money you won't touch while simultaneously worrying about money you don't have. That 15,000, maybe 20,000 just sitting there, earning 0.5% interest. You did the math once, saw it would take 124 years to double, and then you stopped thinking about it. You've been building this emergency fund for 3 years, and in that time you've watched other people who started with less, somehow pull ahead. They bought property, started businesses, and you kept adding to the pile of money you're too scared to use, calling it responsibility when it might actually be fear. You've turned down opportunities because what if something happens? You've stayed in jobs you hate because at least the emergency fund is growing. That money was supposed to give you freedom, but it's become the reason you say no to everything that might change your life. Every month you add another $500 to $800. You feel virtuous, then you see the credit card balance that never quite gets to zero, the retirement account you'll focus on next year, the course you didn't take, all because you were proud of money that's losing value to inflation. And you know this. You understand that money sitting in savings for a decade is money you'll never get back in opportunity cost, but understanding and feeling are different things. So you keep telling yourself that once it reaches some magic number, then you'll start investing, then you'll build wealth, but that number keeps moving. It was $10,000 until you hit $10,000, then it needed to be $15,000. The goalpost slides because the emergency fund was never about the money, it's about the feeling, and feelings don't have finish lines. Nobody taught you this. Every bit of advice said save 3 to 6 months of expenses. You followed the rules. And now you're stuck in a pattern that made sense for your grandparents' economy but makes no sense in yours. Here's what nobody tells you. Emergency funds aren't actually about emergencies. Most people get hit with a $2,000 expense and put it on a credit card even though they have $15,000 saved. Because using the emergency fund feels like defeat. So you protect it even from actual emergencies, which means it's just a psychological security blanket costing you 5-7% per year in the lost opportunity. The wealthy don't have emergency funds the way you do. They understand money sitting still is dying slowly. They keep enough to handle volatility and put the rest to work immediately. And this is where everything breaks. You were taught that safety comes from savings. But what if safety comes from skills, from options? From the ability to generate income rather than protect what you have? What if your $20,000 emergency fund is making you vulnerable because you could have used half of it to learn a skill that triples your income? You're optimizing for the wrong crisis. You're preparing for job loss by having money saved, but not by being so valuable that job loss doesn't scare you. Money in savings gives you time. Money invested in yourself gives you options, and options are better than time. A job loss is a 3-month panic if your only backup is savings. It's a 2-week garitlat. Inconvenience if you have skills people are desperate to pay for. Here's the principle. Money is a test of self-trust. Your emergency fund isn't measuring discipline. It's measuring how much you trust yourself to figure things out. Every dollar you add past a certain point is you saying, I don't trust me to handle this. The fund was supposed to give you confidence but became evidence of your lack of it. Your financial future is being decided by your 11 p.m. decisions. The moment you add another $500 to savings instead of that course, the moment you decide it's not the right time to invest, those moments of choosing comfort over growth are compounding in the wrong direction. 5 years from now, you'll have $35,000 with the purchasing power of $31,000. You'll still be at the same job because you never took the risk. Meanwhile, the person who invested $10,000 5 years ago, maybe they doubled their income. Maybe they started a business, but more importantly, they learned they could take a calculated risk and survive. Here's something darker. You're not afraid of emergencies. You're afraid of success. The emergencies fund is the perfect excuse to never test yourself. As long as you're being responsible, you never have to face the possibility that you might try something and fail. Think about the couple who retired at 40. They had $8,000 saved, not $30,000. Everything beyond that went into assets. They were terrified, just like you, but they understood that being terrified with money working is better than being terrified with money sitting still. Every person you envy made a choice you weren't willing to make. The person who's financially free didn't get there by having the biggest emergency fund. They understood that emergency funds have a purpose and a limit. 5 years from now, you'll wish you started today. That's not inspiration. That's math. The compound interest you miss doesn't come back. Time is the variable you can't buy back, and you're spending it protecting money instead of growing it. So here's what you need to sit with. You're probably going to keep adding to that fund. Keep telling yourself that once it hits the next milestone, then you'll invest. And 5 years from now, you'll feel this same uncomfortable recognition, or you could decide that $10,000 is enough, that the real emergency is wasting more time. You could take everything beyond that and put it somewhere that scares you a little. Not recklessly, but deliberately. You could stop optimizing for the life you're afraid of losing and start building the life you're afraid to want. But that requires trusting yourself more than you trust the number in your account. What do you actually want? And how much of your life are you willing to trade for the feeling of safety when that safety might be the thing that guarantees you never get what you want? Your move.